Hello friends. Today's video involves a tale of woe, of overconfidence, and trusting Facebook messages a little bit too much. Many bodices in the 1800s are meant to be skin tight and thus very closely fitted to the body. This can make mock-ups and the construction of a bodice incredibly difficult and a daunting task. I ask as you watch this video that you view my mistakes with indulgence, and that I hope we both can learn something from the process.
The process of making this bodice starts with copious mock-ups, which I have abridged for everyone's sake. First though, there is much cutting and taping to be had. Almost all of my truly Victorian patterns are E-patterns, which are wildly convenient for the immediacy with which you get them. It does, however, require a great deal of time and patience to line everything up and tape it together. I'm pretty used to it at this point though, and I don't really mind it too much. I started with a black cotton material as my mock-up fabric, since it's easy to mark on and see with chalk. I usually go to second-hand stores and buy old sheets to make mock-ups nowadays to lower the amount of new fabric waste I'm creating in the process. It also helps that I can usually get 2 to 4 yards of fabric for less than $5. Apologies for the candles directly in the center of the frame here. I had moved my location around in the old house a bit as we prepared for a move and was experimenting, unsuccessfully I might add, with different angles. I usually use candles as my pattern weights simply because I already have a bunch and they're easy to use. Sean is making an appearance in the background here as well. Hi Sean. I swear I had multiple videos of bodice try-ons which have magically disappeared. Unfortunately, you will have to take my word that not only did I do multiple mock-ups, but by the last one it seemed as though I had really gotten a good fit for myself.
So here is the mock-up for the bodice. It has been cut up a little bit over here to make room for or not make room I guess, but to take out some of the shoulder space, as I think that was part of the problem with the bubbling in the armpit. And then you can see the darts here in the front. Ended up taking those in a little bit. I did end up splitting them on the back side to get them to lay a bit flatter so I could get a better image. And then I think the armpits need to come out a little bit more because they're still very snug, but I'm thinking only a little bit. And I am going to break this bad boy apart and transfer him to some paper and make him into a new pattern.
After I finished the mock-ups, I broke down the pieces and transferred them to brown construction paper, which I buy by the roll at Lowe's. The darts are punctuated with small holes so I'm able to stick my pencil through to mark them. All the bodice pieces were flatlined in a basic quilter's cotton for strength. As you may know from my corset adventures, I am obscenely bad at flatlining, so I tried a different technique this time. I cut out all of my bodice pieces to size, then cut the interlining wider all the way around to allow for the shifting in the material that inevitably happens when sewing the two together. I then sew up the edges and trim the interlining to match up with the fashion fabric. This worked pretty well. I ran into a little bit of bubbling at the ironing phase, but I think that is in part due to the natural stretch the fashion fabric had for some reason. Finally, I finished sewing the outer shell and tried on to make sure everything looks right. This is where things went a bit downhill. Okay, so the bodice has now been sewn up in the front. It is safety pinned in the back, more or less. It's fitting pretty good. I'm hoping that once I finish the back, the sides will be a little bit more snug. However, I am still contending with some issues in here. I think I need to open this up even more, but I'm afraid that that's gonna make it
bad. I don't know though. I'm probably going to take some photos of this and go on to one of the Facebook groups that I'm a part of that talks about these patterns and stuff, and see if they have any recommendations. Hopefully it's not a ground up kind of issue, since this has already been sewn and whatnot, but we'll see how it goes. Hello friends, it has been about 2 weeks since I last touched the bodice for Cowboy Peach. After my last update, I went online to a Facebook page that I'm a part of for Truly Victorian Patterns and asked them for advice about the issues I was having with the seams, or the sleeve edges, and how to fix that. And the advice that came back was pretty disheartening. Pretty much everyone told me that my bodice was too short and that it essentially needed to be made over. And that was really hard to hear. I spent, at least a solid 4 or 5 hours on that bodice by the time I'd gotten to that point. And it felt like a lot of wasted time and wasted energy and wasted fabric. So after that, I lost pretty much all of my motivation, and haven't really sewn anything in those 2 weeks since. I've been very busy with work and doing some event planning for a group I'm a part of. I run a maid cafe, and just haven't had the energy or the confidence to pick it back up. There were some people who gave me suggestions that I could institute on my current bodice pattern, and I think I am going to give those an attempt before I scrap the whole thing. So I think my plan of action is going to be, I'm going to insert about an inch wide panel into the two shoulder pieces to try and lengthen them a little bit to get it back down to where it's supposed to be sitting at the waist, and then try and cut away some more of the arm side here. I did have a couple people mention that the arm sides are just consistently too small, so I'm thinking that it's possible that the arm side is designed for someone whose arm is further back on their body somehow, and I just need to carve that out. The way I see it, everyone was essentially telling me I needed to start over from the beginning anyways, so if I can get this pattern workable by fiddling with it and cutting pieces away and so on and so forth, then I might as well give that a shot if I'm going to have to throw it away anyways. I'm hoping that I won't have to, that I can figure it out and make it work. I think a really big problem for me was that feeling of perfection and perfectionism and needing to have this thing be perfect. And the fact of the matter is I've only been sewing for 2 years at this point, max, and I've learned a lot and I've grown a lot, but I'm still not perfect, and I don't think it's fair for me to expect perfection out of myself. That was a difficult thing for me to have to realize and to get started on, and I think it is a problem that plagues a lot of people in the historical costuming community especially, which I've kind of embedded myself into at this point. This feeling of having to have things be absolutely perfect. You have to have your fabrics be perfect, your construction be perfect, and I'm not there, and I don't know if I ever want to be there, to be afraid to screw things up. So I'm gonna start working on my bodice again. I bought a pattern for some underclothes, a chemise, and drawers, and I have some muslin on the way for those, and I'm hoping those will help also boost my confidence back up a little bit, since they should be simpler sewing projects, hopefully. But yeah, I just wanted to be a little bit more candid about how I was feeling right now with this project and how my screw-ups are affecting me, because they
happen quite a lot, and I don't ever want to present this idea that I'm perfect on the first try, because I'm not, and I don't think anyone should expect themselves to be. So, with that in mind, I'm probably going to have more troubles with this cosplay in the future. I have undertaken a massive project for myself, but I'm going to try. And I have to take the first step, which is picking up the bodice and keep working on it.
I'm not really sure what I'm trying to say here. Put on this fancy outfit, make myself look more authoritative, so you guys don't judge me quite as hard.